It's time for another edition of Lewis at Large with Warner Lewis. 60 minutes of smart talk radio with interesting guests from all walks of life begins right now. So sit back and enjoy. And now, from the flight deck, here's your host, Warner Lewis.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck. And, of course, that means some smart talk radio is in your future. This segment, no exception. This is a heavy one. We're going to get down where the rubber meets the road with two very talented people that are taking on a subject that is difficult, and it's a subject that's a lightning rod, whether you live in New York City or you live in Birmingham, Alabama, which is where these two hail from. We're going to be talking to Michelle Foreman. She is the founder of the UAB Media Studies program there, but for this conversation, she's also the producer of what we believe is an important new work called State and Union, Lesbian Families in the Deep South. Our other guest is Carolyn Shearer. She is the director of the movie. She has a long history, an award-winning history in filmmaking, indeed, and the subject is lesbianism, families, the future, the present in the state of Alabama, and in a broader text across the country. Carolyn, Michelle, how are you all?
We're doing great.
Good.
Okay.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about I guess if you could give us a little bit, for those of us in the Middle West, give us some historical perspective. We know that Birmingham is the cradle of civil rights. Certainly, it has deep, deep roots there. Talk to us about the significance of that and the connection there and the work that you're doing, trying to talk about and tell the story of lesbian families.
Sure. Thank you, Warner, and thank you for having us on the show. My career in film started with Spike Lee, and part of the reason that I was interested in going into film and media is because of my passionate interest in the civil rights movement from my hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. I think it's such a powerful medium to be able to share stories and understand the experiences of others. I grew up in a predominantly white suburb in Birmingham, and it had always pained me understanding that not everybody had the same equal opportunities that I did as a child growing up here. And that's really become part of my mission with all of my media work, is to be able to help attain the ideals of America. I love our founding documents, and to me, being able to spread equality and that individual rights, that pursuit of happiness that is the root of American life, is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And it's very interesting. I'm going to pass it on to Carolyn, because this film really came about because of an exhibition of Carolyn's photographs at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute.
Carolyn, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah. Why don't you, if you would, share with our listeners a little bit about your background? And again, Michelle referenced your work at the museum.
Yes, I'm a still photographer. That's where my roots lie. And I will say in 2011, we had a situation in Birmingham where we saw the rest of the world moving forward, and we were standing still in terms of LGBTQ equality. And there was a specific incident where a friend of mine's wife died, and she was treated very badly by the family of her loved one. And so that served as kind of a lightning rod for the rest of the community to come together with me, and we created an exhibit of photographs that were shown at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. And it started a lot of public and private dialogue about who is it that's entitled to equality.
When you reference, let's get some phraseology out of the way, LGBTQ, share with us what those letters stand for our listeners. Lesbian,
gay, bisexual, transgendered, and queer or questioning.
All right. The other thing we want to talk about, which was a little bit, some of the DNA of this, I know led towards the making of this film, and that is the letters DOMA. Describe those for us and share what that means to you.
Sure. The real impetus to make this film right now in Birmingham is the groundbreaking U.S. Supreme Court decision from last year, from June 2013, overturning DOMA, which stands for the Defense of Marriage Act. And so that was the federal law that defined marriages between one man and one woman, and that was ruled unconstitutional. However, there's a real discrepancy between where same-sex marriages are recognized within the federal system versus state by state. So we really are making a film. I mean, the reason why our film is called State and Union is that we're really at an incredible historical moment. We're watching federalism in action. This is what our Constitution was designed to do, to be able to figure out how to balance the interest of the local with the interest of the national. And, I mean, these are the same issues that were a big part of our country from its founding. You can think about almost every American social movement plays out in this sort of relationship between the states to our national American identity.
Well, and kind of addressing that states' rights issue that you're referencing to, Birmingham, Alabama, we all know its history and its very real place in the civil rights movement in American history. Now, in the year 2014, you, in Roy Moore, you have a Chief Justice there that has written to all governors urging a constitutional amendment banning equal access to marriage. And I'm wondering, not only is there irony there's history repeating itself, and you are truly making movies in the belly of the beast, are you not?
It is. Alabama, I mean, I think that, that great political prognosticator and statistician Nate Silver, I think he's ranked Alabama as the last state in the Union that may allow same-sex marriage.
Well, let me. There's no question. Let's be honest here. This film, the work that you all are doing, has an agenda, and you're not. This is not an attempt to view an issue, so to speak, from all sides and understand it better. My sense is this is a film with an agenda, but designed to enlighten those that may not know or may not be sympathetic or at least sensitive to or aware of what really stands behind a lot of these issues. I'm curious as to when you were putting this together, why necessarily the focus on lesbians versus males versus a greater picture? Tell us about that.
Well, this film grew out of the exhibit that I previously mentioned that was at the Civil Rights Institute about lesbian families.
Right.
That was a very specific project based on my personal experience as an artist. And so when that exhibit was closed at the Civil Rights Institute, it traveled. And when it did, people started asking for the stories. So this film is a follow-up of a very specific project about lesbians. Having said that, the issues are the same. I mean, I think that the message transcends gender and it applies equally to the entire LGBTQ population.
Again, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. Some Smart Talk Radio rolling along here with Michelle Foreman. She's the founder of the University of Alabama at Birmingham Media Studies program. She's also the producer of this new work, and director Carolyn Scheer, who is also a professional photographer. She just mentioned the work is State and Union, Lesbian Families in the Deep South. Interesting also that, yes, it's an independent film, and so therefore probably independent fundraising. This is not the kind of film that you shop and you get millions and millions of dollars for. Share with our listeners, both of you, if you would, the whole fundraising process behind it.
Sure, that's a great question. It's a labor of love to get independent projects made, and particularly films like this that are really focused on the lives and experiences of families in this year after the groundbreaking Supreme Court decision. It takes a lot of time to follow people's lives, and one of the things we obviously are really sympathetic to our families, but the film is not a political advocacy or lobbying tool. what we're really interested in doing is introducing audiences over time to the people we've met here in Birmingham. And so it's that kind of intimate look, and we have a little sneak preview right now on our Indiegogo page. We are doing, the crowdfunding route to get this film made, and we have enjoyed just enormous local support. It has just been, it's brought tears to my eyes to see how the Birmingham community has rallied around this film. It really, illustrates in a certain way how the community and the business community is sometimes farther along in their thinking than our political leadership. And Indiegogo, you can sort of see the list of people who've given. We want to give a shout out to them. They have been great, and we would love anyone who's listening to this to tune in and go on to Indiegogo and look for State and Union, Lesbian Families in the Deep South. You can take a look at a little 6-minute teaser of the film, and we would love it if you would give.
Why don't you, if either one of you, if you would share with our Lewis at Large listeners sort of a sample story or a situation that comes out or is explored in the film?
I think that's one of the strengths of our film. I think that Carolyn had established these incredibly trusting relationships. It was groundbreaking. For me, the reason why I'm involved is because I saw Carolyn's photographs of families at the Civil Rights Institute. And I say that I saw it along with 17,000 other people. It was one of the biggest exhibitions in the Civil Rights Institute's history. And what broke my heart looking at the photographs is that a number of the families had their backs turned to the camera lens because they could lose their jobs. They could lose their children. They were very scared of exposing themselves. And one of the things that we've seen as we've followed their cases in this crucial year after DOMA is taking a look at child custody cases, taking a look at guaranteeing security for adopted children who are in situations where the second parent of a same-sex relationship is not able to adopt them. That leaves them very vulnerable in case of anything going wrong. We know things go wrong in life all the time, and being able to understand the urge of every parent to secure and protect the future of their children. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have a couple that's in retirement age. And after the groundbreaking Supreme Court decision, they had to reevaluate where they want to retire to protect their assets and protect the estate for their loved one. We have two emerging legal cases. One of the great things about filming this year is that events are almost overtaking our pace of shooting. We have a Southern Poverty Law Center case, Paul Hard's case, trying to get recognition for his marriage, as well as a case of a lesbian couple that moved to Alabama from a state that recognized their marriage, and all of a sudden they've seen those rights stripped away.
Where, and again, the assumption here is that, as you mentioned earlier, that Alabama is far behind. If they're not falling behind, they're turning the clock back, if not moving forward. Overall, when the situation you just mentioned, someone coming from a more liberal state, so to speak, or one that is certainly more gay and lesbian friendly, and then coming into Alabama, what kinds of practical issues do they face there?
Well, I think that on the most basic level, one of our stories might not seem like the height of drama, but we have a couple, both of them are accountants, and they began to realize things were going to get mighty complicated for them because they're legally married in another state. And so just the conundrum of how do you file your federal return as married, it's in a direct conflict with the state statutes. And so we followed how they were trying to sort of work through it, and they were experts in the field. So that's on the sort of lowest stakes end, though certainly they incurred the marriage penalty, and they can put it down to the cent of what the cost of freedom is, which is I think, a great story. But I think our most heartrending cases are the ones in which family court judges rule against a lesbian mother solely because of her sexual orientation, taking a child away. And in one of our stories, there was a case of physical abuse in the other home. But because of the bias against against gay and lesbian families, that child has been put in a much riskier, physically abusive situation.
As you, I'm curious as to how you garnered some of these stories. I know some of you undoubtedly through various personal or other connections, but I'm curious as to how much convincing of some of the subject matter here, some of the people you actually talked to, did you have to do, or was it really sort of a floodgate and everybody really wanted to line up to tell their story?
Well, this is Carol, and I will tell you that when we started with the exhibit at the Civil Rights Institute, the still photography, it was quite difficult. And that's where I came up with the idea that people could have their backs to the camera if they felt afraid. At this point, it's a floodgate. At this point, there are more people interested in being involved than we can handle. There's a lot of excitement here in this community, and people are really feeling empowered and wanting to move forward.
What about just in general? You're all well known around that town. Birmingham is a nice town, but it's still ultimately underneath all the layers. It's a smaller community. What kind of reaction are you getting from, let's just say, the straight community?
I have to tell you, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I think that where our community attitudes are so far exceeds. I mean, I think that's one of the other surprises I think national viewers will have. I mean, there's a stereotype about Alabama and a stereotype about Birmingham that I think it's still stuck in 1963. And it's true. We have a lot of work to do in Birmingham and in Alabama on civil rights for all people, including LGBTQ people. But the attitudes are shifting, and we've had just an incredible wave of support. I mean, certainly the support of the film, the moral support, the connections, the business community, the nonprofit community. We are very excited that we are the very first LGBTQ-funded project by the Alabama Humanities Foundation. I mean, these are just benchmarks, I think, that, a lot of journalists make note of this, but attitudes have shifted so rapidly on same-sex marriage and other LGBTQ issues, and that's true within Birmingham and Alabama itself, but very often our political culture is slower to respond to what's happening in the private sector.
From, all the way from Neil Young's Southern Man and so many other writings, Alabamans, I know, are used to criticism. They're used to people lobbing grenades, and at times, undoubtedly, they have felt very, very defensive. And I'm curious as to if I live in Alabama, and specifically if I live in Birmingham, and I'm just a so to speak, a John Q. citizen there, and I see this film, do I come away ashamed? Do I come away guilty? Do I come away enlightened? Do I come away proud? What's my reaction?
I think it's going to be a mix of reactions, but, our goal is not to provide guilt or shame to anybody. What we really want to do is be able to show gay and lesbian families have all the same issues that all of our regular families do. Whether you're straight or gay, you have to get those kids to school and make them do their homework. You have the joys of holiday celebrations. You have the sorrows of loss. One of the things that I think we want to convey is that in addition to all that everydayness that is so relatable to anybody, and that you are really enlightened about how ordinary the lives are, that we really hope you understand a little bit about how the law and government, in all sorts of ways, can make our lives more secure or incredibly fragile. I mean, to be a wage earner, providing for your family, but knowing that your core identity could get you fired here and you have no legal protection. To know that your core identity could be something that makes you lose your child and you have to hide that. I mean, that kind of fragility is what we want to be able to convey to people. The law matters.
To your all's knowledge, is there, independent or otherwise, any other film or documentary out there that would be even similar to this anywhere across the country?
Well, I think, this is one of the films, I think the real drivers for a lot of widespread cultural change is the fact that LGBTQ presence and visibility in media has shifted over the last several decades. I mean, I think that we had a lot of gay and lesbian stereotypes that were the butts of jokes, 20 to 30 years ago. But I think that wave of movies and television and nonfiction reporting has really helped people understand who your LGBTQ neighbors, family members are, and so I think that our film right now is participating in that wonderful wave of support, but we're really unique. We are the only film right now in the Deep South, as you put it, the belly of the beast, following the crucial twists and turns of families' lives in the balance in this year after the DOMA decision.
Again, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis, here from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio, and our guests, filmmakers indeed, but also with other real-life professions as well. Michelle Foreman, again, as we said earlier, is the founder of the UAB Media Studies Program, and Carolyn Shearer, she is the director. She's also a photographer in her own right. Either one of you, or both of you, I'm curious as to when this film was done, and the editing was over, and you hit a bottle of champagne over each other's head and said it's soup. How were you changed as people, or were you?
Well, we're still in the middle of it, so
it's not soup yet.
It's hard to have a perspective about the future yet, but I mean, I have to tell you, every day I'm so excited to be involved in a project like this. I mean, I love our families that we've met, and I feel the history each time I turn on my computer, get the news, and see how another state is changing the laws to support same-sex marriage. We're watching sort of dominoes fall across the country. It just feels like we're in the thick of it.
And I will say from my perspective that what this is about for me personally is putting a face on my community. And we've been living in the closet for a really long time around here. So just the fact that we're coming out, and literally everybody in this film has come out at a different level as part of their participation, is so exciting. It's just amazing. And one of the first things that happens when I tell people that I'm doing this project is they start to talk about, well, I have a gay cousin or I have a gay brother. And so we are at a place that we're just having these conversations.
How much of, and again, I know you are working very, very hard, raising money, finalizing the film, doing all those things. The money doesn't come that easily, but I would like to have you share with our listeners, if they are interested, how can they support this project?
So anybody can come on and support this project. We have some awesome ways to be able to participate, and we'll thank you on screen for making this important film happen. Indiegogo.com. So INDIEGOGO.com. And when you get to Indiegogo, look for us, State and Union Lesbian Families in the Deep South. There are a whole slew of giving levels. The lowest level to entry, if you want to be in the movies, $6 will get you there.
And the T-shirts are awesome. I designed them.
So you can spend some of your fortune and gain some fame by it. Is that right? You designed the T-shirts. Is that right?
I did, and they're beautiful.
Okay. Oh, boy. Nothing better than movie memorabilia already. Already swag, as they say. That's great.
We got a great swag package. Water bottle, refrigerator magnet. The T-shirt is great. Awareness bracelet. You can be decked out for a very reasonable price.
Boy, you know what? We could take you to the county fair, and you could give out yardsticks and rulers and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Well, again, we have been spending time with Carolyn Shearer, the director, and Michelle Foreman, the producer, of a new work called State and Union, Lesbian Families in the Deep South. It is a very, very up-close and personal look at lesbian families in and around the city of Birmingham, Alabama, with its obvious ties to the civil rights movement. Michelle and Carolyn, when do you expect the project to actually be fully completed?
We're looking for a release in 2015. We want to be out there to be able to be part of the conversation.
And again, if you could share with our listeners, there is a website and the ability to see some previews. And what was that again?
That's Indiegogo.com, INDIEGOGO.com, and look for State and Union Lesbian Families in the Deep South.
Well, we appreciate you both sharing some time with us in advance of the release of the film. And best of luck to you all. And when the film comes out, may have you back on again.
We would love it. Thank you so much for having us.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.